fans, and welcome to the podcast. I have something special for you today. And if you're out there in the chicken world and you do like I do, and you do a lot of research to make sure that your birds have the absolute best care that you can give them, then you have run across the name of Miss Lisa Steele. She is with us here today, and it's just about impossible to go through everything that this well accomplished lady has done. She's into poultry raising, homesteading, she's books, community support. The list just goes on and on. Lisa is an author, a blogger, a television personality, and most importantly, a strong advocate and supporter of backyard chicken keepers. Her television show, Welcome to My Farm, went nationwide, I think, in 2022. Has already won 2 Taste Awards, 5 Telly Awards, and has been nominated for 2 Regional Emmy Awards. She is a fifth generation chicken keeper. I cannot express enough how honored and happy I am to have Miss Lisa on the show as a guest today. And I know you guys are going to enjoy this as well. Lisa, welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks so much for having me.
Wow, it is so cool to have you on here. Is there anything in your bio I missed? I know I missed tons of things, but anything else you want to tell the good people out there that Lisa?
No, I don't think so. I think that's about it. I mean, it's been 15 years, so it definitely wasn't overnight, but
You have been
um,
a while now, and
yeah.
I think I told you whenever we first chatted, I have one of your birds out in my yard right now, and I'm going to put it up whenever we do this, as far as the video goes. But today's discussion is just going to be a general discussion about chickens, and we'll get into a few specific things to talk about. But first off, what are the tips we want to offer for these first time chicken but people, or you're not really all that experienced, you're just learning, and you want to set up your coop, get everything just right, what you feed your chickens. So the first time chicken owner, what do we want to tell them about this?
Yeah, the first thing that I would say is like beware of what you read online. When you're scrolling, when you're watching these little videos and the short clips and that, it's a great way to meet other people who have similar interests, and it's a great way to pick up tips and things. But when you first get started, you really need a good foundation. So find like a solid resource. I'm not saying you have to read my blog or my books, but find some books, subscribe to some of the chicken magazines. They have great seasonal articles in them. I learned a lot. I had chickens as a kid, so I kind of had a good foundation. But when you're an adult taking care of them, making sure that like you don't kill them, it's different. So I did a lot of research, and I read a lot of scientific sites, educational sites. The Maine Extension Service has a great poultry resource on their website. So, like your state extension service, find some really reputable sources to kind of get the basics down, and then dive into social media and like all the like, you should do this, you should do that. No, you should do this, you should do that. I mean, your head will spin if you just try to dive in and take it all in, because for every chicken keeper, there's a different way to do things.
Yeah, it's crazy with all the different ways that you can find to do something. And I'll tell people, it doesn't necessarily, the CENLA backyard chicken way is not necessarily the only way to do something. There are 100 ways that you can go about doing these things. But here we are, winter's approaching. Oh my gosh, what do I have to do to protect my birds? I need to buy a big wood stove or put some big heaters. It's going to get cold. What do we tell these people whenever they're worried about their birds freezing?
Okay, so first of all, if you are below the Mason-Dixon line or whatever runs across Route 66 or whatever runs across, if you're below that, you don't need to do anything because your chickens are fine. Your chickens are actually breathing a sigh of relief because it's not 90 degrees anymore. And, their sweet spot is between like 45 and 65 degrees. Like that's when chickens are most comfortable. So like all you Southerners, you're putting your winter coats on when it hits 60. Your chickens are totally comfortable. I mean, they're even like down to freezing, even below zero. They're not going to die. It's going to be a little cold for them. But yeah, if you're in the South, you don't really need to do anything. Like you can give them a little extra scratch grains at night. That'll help keep them warm. Put a little fat on them. Everybody needs to bulk up in the winter. Extra layer of fat doesn't hurt. But if you live where it's cold, so I have the 4 S's. So I add a ton of straw to the floor of my coop. Straw is a really great insulator. It's hollow, it holds air in, so that'll insulate the floor. I make sure my coop is in full sun all day, so it's facing south and, it's not under trees, whatever. So it's a lot of sunlight, warms it up during the day. Scratch grains before bed. They generate heat and energy digesting them overnight, which helps keeps them warm. And then they snuggle. Honestly, chickens, they're great at retaining their body heat. They fluff their feathers up and kind of like keep the warm air as an insulator. And that's kind of all I do. Like, you don't need to get crazy. Your chickens will be fine. You don't need to heat your coop.
The same way, I will feed my chickens crushed corn, but I only do it in the wintertime because the process of digesting that creates heat. And I had to,
Hmm.
I didn't always know that. When we grew up on the farm in Dry Creek, Louisiana, we just, whatever we had, we threw out there for the chickens, and they all seemed to do fine. I was reading something the other day, and I forget where it was on the list, but it talked about how chickens are not just livestock animals anymore. They're part of the family. They become pets.
Yeah.
I have chickens out there right now that if I go sit out in the chicken yard, I've got one on my shoulder, one on my lap. I have chickens that don't want me to pick them up, but they still want to fly on my lap and sit. They can be very affectionate, and
Mhm.
that's what you want. Then we work with them. But you know, how do you get a young chick to start doing that? Because you're not going to go out there with a 3-year-old rooster and think he's going to be your best friend.
No, no, definitely not. And I only add baby chicks to my flock. I don't add adult birds for a lot of reasons, for disease, things like that. But also, I tried it once. There was a breed I really wanted. I think it was a French Black Marans, and I found a local breeder that had three of them that were not fully adult, but not chicks anymore. I ended up rehoming them because I just never warmed up to them. I didn't have that time when they were baby chicks that they really bond with you. Chickens don't imprint like specifically like geese do, um, but they will get attached to you. And the more you handle them, I get so sad when I see people saying, "Don't let your children pick up your chicks and play with them and this and that." And sure, they can get cold, and you shouldn't have them away from the heat lamp for too long, and obviously they can get dropped or whatever, but as long as you're supervising and the kids are careful with them, they should handle the chicks as much as possible to get them to be friendly like that. If you do want them to be pets, and even if you don't, there's times when you need to catch them because they're injured or they're sick or something, and you don't want to have to like chase them around. You want them to be comfortable with being picked up.
Yeah, absolutely. So the next question is, okay, what kind of chickens do I want? Because believe it or not, folks, there is a chicken for everybody out there. If you want certain and specific things, so I'm a brand new chicken keeper. I just want chickens. I want some eggs for me and my family, and I want to be able to go out there and cuddle with my chickens. What do I want to get?
Yeah, I think that you want to, and this is my personal opinion, but I like to stick with the Orpington family. So like the Buff Orpingtons, the big gold ones that everyone calls the golden retrievers, of the chicken world. Australorps. I have lavender Orpingtons. There's also chocolate Orpingtons. I think anything in that Orpington family, they're super hardy. They're good layers. They're good moms. They're just good all around chickens. They're super friendly. They're docile. So I would start there. But then, of course, you're going to want the ones with the fancy things on their heads, and you're going to want the ones that lay the blue eggs, and you're just going to want them all.
Yeah, I've got a couple of buffs and a lavender Orpington, and one of the buffs is named Barney, and that's after my mother. My mother's name is extremely friendly, but she constantly wants to walk behind me if I'm sitting down and peck me in the back. Uh, Kind of reminds me of my mom, just a little bit of friction, but she's a very loving bird, but she just likes to do that. So, how tough is it? I want to start this. Is this going to cost me a ton of money just to get into chickens? And do I have to go through all of these measures to protect my bird? How tough is it to actually start from scratch?
I mean, it really isn't. And I definitely recommend starting with the baby chicks. I mean, I feel like starting with the baby chicks is probably the most difficult part, because you have to get them a heat lamp and a little thing to live in and whatever, but it definitely makes friendlier birds and healthier birds and all this, whatever. But then once they go outside, when they're like 8 months or 8 weeks, 6 or 8 weeks old or whatever, once they have their feathers, depending on your weather, a coop that is going to keep them safe and dry and all that is the most important thing. And it's really your only big expense, so if you can repurpose a garden shed or a playhouse, or if you can, find one of those sheds, I've seen people even give coops away on Craigslist, or just your local marketplace. People get into it or the chickens grow out of it or whatever. So once you get your coop situated and then a nice secure pen for them, there's really not a lot of expense or trouble. I mean, it's really cold right now here, and I can go down and do my morning chores in like 4 minutes. I mean, I literally, walk down with water. I throw them some food. I let them out. I don't check for eggs because there's no eggs this time of year. Just kind of check and make sure everybody, is up and about and looking fine. And I'm back in the house. And then same in the evening. Make sure everybody goes in, pick up the food and water. So the daily time commitment is very minimal if you want it to be. But you go out when and the weather is nice. I could be down there for an hour. So it is what you make of it.
I sit with my birds all the time that they're just enjoyable to do that with.
Mm,
I'm the same way. It just takes very little time to actually do the chicken chores. The rest of the time for us is lagniappe. And here in Louisiana, lagniappe means just something extra. And I tell people, make sure they have room to be chicken, protect them from predators, and give them a great roof over the head. And the rest is easy.
yeah,
Then you can get as
yeah,
as you want. You can do like me and have cameras in your coop and these fancy smancy feeders and things like that. But that's the overboard that's going in me. But you don't have to go through all these just huge steps and measures just to be a great chicken keeper. And I so much agree with Miss Lisa. You get those young chicks, they're going to get used to you. They're going to become fond of you. You're going to get used to them, and you are going to become fond of them. So it's a two-way street that happens. And I definitely like
yeah,
it. Now, the regretful part about this, sooner or later, there's going to be loss. You're going to lose a bird to predation, to disease, to time, and sometimes just to fall over, just sudden chicken death. It happens. What do you tell people, and do you ever get to have to address it? I know you've done it on your own. You've been keeping chickens for 5 generations now, but how do we handle that? Because we love these birds.
yeah. It's really tough. And I think people underestimate the predator situation. I mean, even your dog, will kill a chicken if it hasn't been trained and not because it's mean or whatever, but, they run around and they squeak. So of course the dog's going to chase it. And I think that catches people by surprise. We had two fox actually dug under our barn to get into our run one day. I wasn't home. They killed all but three of our chickens that happened to be in the coop laying. And at that point, I mean, I was only months into it at that point, and I literally wanted to like give up. Like I was done. It was awful. My husband cleaned up as best as he could, whatever. But he said to me, there are still three chickens that rely on you, and you need to go down there every day and feed them and whatever. And it was really hard. And, I grieved and I went through I was angry at myself. I was angry at the fox. You grieve over them. And it took me years. I finally wrote an article about it on my blog. It took me years to write that. But people said it had helped them so much because they understood that their grief was normal and blaming themselves and like stuff happens. But knock on wood, it has not happened again because I spent months reinforcing my run and sinking the wire. And, I mean, we never expected that something like I had reinforced around the edges. I never expected something would dig under the barn to get into the run, which was the one side we hadn't, sunk the fencing because it was up against the barn. An old farmer said to me once that it only takes a predator one time to win. So you have to win every single time. Like leave your coop unlocked one night and a raccoon's going to get in. Leave one little hole and a weasel is going to get in. So like that's the only hard thing about raising chickens is it is a constant stressful battle. If you free range, you're almost guaranteed to lose them. Either one, all of them. I mean, it's going to happen. It's just a matter of time. I have people say, I've been free ranging for 2 years and I've never had a problem. And today a fox came and killed all my chickens. It's inevitable. They're defenseless. They're vulnerable. Everything wants to eat them. So you have to decide your level of comfort. Like I do let mine out, but I'm usually outside with them. We have a dog. I spray wolf urine all around the perimeter of our coop and run. I have blinking lights at night. I mean, I go overboard with the security because I know how hard it is to lose one. And since that first attack, we have not lost a single chicken to anything but old age. And they generally live to be like 10 or 12 years old, but it's a lot and it's stressful. It's really stressful.
Here I am, a big, tough 60-something-year-old guy, and when we were raised on the farm, if the dog attacked the chicken, the dog's got to leave. Chickens die all the time.
Hmm.
Back then, it wasn't that big of a deal. But when I get
Right.
back into these things in 2016, gee, these are my girls, and I have had more than one emotional experience from losing them. But it is an inevitable part, and you make the decision. Mine free range in my backyard every day, and we're my wife's retired, I'm semi-retired, and we get
Right.
them every day. I have a dog back there that was raised with them since she was a puppy. She would actually go inside the chicken coop and lay down. Knock on wood, nothing has happened yet. But I don't let my young chickens run around with her because I know they can be a squeaky toy, just like you said.
Yeah.
Big birds
Yeah.
will bow up to her, they'll throw their chest out and she turns around. But the goal is, I hope the raccoons smell her, the coyotes smell her,
Right.
that the hawks flying overhead see a dog running around, and I made the choice to let my birds free range, and I lost
Right.
the young Wyandotte last year. He's probably 6 or 7 weeks old, but that hawk did not get its prize, and I've even got a video that talks about it a little bit. On the opposite end of the spectrum, the joy and the fulfillment for keeping birds. You've done this forever, basically.
Yeah.
Family was doing this, and you still get joy out of keeping these animals. What about it still gives you that great peace of mind? As
Oh my goodness. Well, yes, as a kid, I had we had a little flock. My grandparents had a chicken farm. We used to eat my grandparents' chickens, I'm sure, but it didn't really register as a kid. Like you said, you grew up on a farm. They didn't live for years and years. They didn't have names, whatever. But yeah, so I started in 2009 as an adult, and like holding that baby chick, I was like, this is just so cool. I have not done this like in years, right? And still 15 years later now, when I go out to the coop every morning and look for eggs, like I save that for last. I feed everybody, I fill their water, I let them out, and then I go and peek in the boxes. And I swear it's like Christmas every morning. Like, how do you still get so excited about an egg in a box? But I do. I mean, it's just so crazy. Like that excitement never goes away.
Yeah, and right now I'm working toward the Easter basket, so I'm getting
Uh-huh.
color in on some of my birds. But and yourself, they've all got such distinct personality. I was talking earlier about Barney the Buff. You know, our number one hen out there, her name is Lily, and my granddaughter names our chickens every time we get a new.
Okay.
We use a theme. We've done family as a theme. The current theme is Pokemon, so I had to write all those down. I do not know. Before that, it was constellations. The things that
Nice.
so Lily, one of the oldest hens that I have, she's the boss. I mean, nobody tells Lily what to do, but I've never seen her have to jump on another chicken. She did. They just know who she is, and that's her personality. I have got chickens whose personalities are very meek and meager. They're happy
Hmm.
to submit to anyone. I have chickens that are extremely curious. It doesn't matter what you're doing; they're going to have their nose in there. They're so fun and funny to get to watch running around out in the chicken yard. It's that joy that we get, and I just can't express enough, how
It's true. And it's like a little society, whether you have all the same breed, which I definitely don't recommend because that's boring. But like the breeds do have personalities, but then even within a breed, two chickens of the same breed will even have different personalities. And it's fascinating. Like you said, you have your matriarch. I had Charlotte, the Australorp, for years. She was in charge, but like you said, I never saw her be mean to anybody, or she just kind of like reigned very gently. And then we lost her a couple years ago. And I think it took them a while to kind of pick a new leader, and now they're all older, so they just kind of were like, let's just do without. But then I have Mean Kate, who I don't know how old she is, but we brought her with us from Virginia, and we've been here 9 years, so she's old, and she is the meanest chicken. Like nobody likes her. I'm convinced she's never going to die. She just I mean, anytime I take a video, she's like popping somebody on the head, or like she is just a horrible chicken, but she lays these beautiful blue eggs. So she stays.
that's a reprieve right there. Do you guys have roosters?
No, we don't. I generally don't. love having a rooster. I don't, we've had so many that would like attack you. And I have people come, like we shoot the show at my farm. We have people come to shoot for magazines, people with their kids. And I just don't feel like comfortable having a rooster
I get
unless it was like a super, super chill one, which we did have Sherman, who was a bantam, which worked out great because he was teeny, and I liked hearing him crow and stuff. I forget how long he lived, but he lived for a long time. And now that he's gone, we don't have another one.
okay. Back to a little bit more about you. You work with hatcheries out there. I have one of your chickens. It's called a cookies and cream chicken. My daughter
Yes.
wears pants. I make a dish and I take Oreo cookies and grind them up in a gallon of vanilla ice cream and then a bucket of Cool Whip, and you mix all that and refreeze it. The dark spots and everything. You can
Mhm.
next to that chicken and use it as chemical. I mean, this bird looks just like that, and she lays the most lovely off-white eggs. And she's got a lot of fluff around her eyes, so I'll trim her eyes a little bit so she can see a little bit better. She's just gorgeous. I love her, and she's sweet as she can be.
That's so funny. Yeah, that's Meyer Hatchery in Ohio. I've been out there a couple times. I've been working with them for years. And they said to me a couple years ago, if you could design like your perfect chicken, like just describe it and we'll breed. And it took them a couple years because, you can't just like create a breed, right? So they had to do like a couple generations. And that's what they came up with. And I was telling you prior when we were chatting, I don't even have one. Every year I say to them, fill all the orders. There are a lot of customers who want them. And then, send me a couple when whatever. And they sell out every year. So I still don't even have one.
Well, Lisa, you've got a book out. I was actually going to hold the book up and show people because I have one of them, and I asked Sarah where the book was. Well, it's in Houston at my sister-in-law's right now. So
Oh no.
maybe I have one on order that we're going to do for Christmas. Maybe I need to get a second one to send her one. So she
Right.
has my Tony cookbook over there too. So she and I are going to have a little bit talking about a month on there. At least I could do this all day with you. It's such a pleasure to get to chat. This has been such fun. You are a wealth of information, folks. Look her up on YouTube. She's out there. She's got great videos out there. She's on a public broadcasting system as well. You can learn so much from this kind and generous lady. Generous with her time, as you see that she's working with me. Generous with her knowledge as well. Is there anything else that you'd like to say to everybody before we leave?
Yeah, no, definitely just come find me at Fresh Egg Daily, or if you are on social media, check out my books, my TV show. And just, yeah, if you don't have chicken, definitely think about it. And if you do, you can always reach out. I do answer all my emails, fresheggsdaily@gmail.com. Ask questions and, learn the best you can, but realize stuff happens. I
Okay.
guess that was like the moral of today.
Okay, guys, that's all that we're going to have for today. Until the next time, I'm Gary with CENLA Backyard Chickens. See you again on the next podcast. Bye bye for now.